thank you very much for joining us at our Right On Culture Night event. You're very welcome, and I'm glad with so many events on all over the country that you've decided to pop in, even for a few minutes, to see what the Right On group is doing. We have a great night in store with the launch of 3 new books, the premiere of our documentary, which we've called Beat the Virus, and then we have multiple presentations from the publications, and you will get to meet the authors and hear some of their stories, poems and songs.
Message from President Michael D. Higgins, Uachtaráin na hÉireann, President of Ireland. May I send my very best wishes to all those participating in this evening's Right On event to mark Culture Night 2021. Right On continues to be a greatly valuable resource for local writers, enabling them to realise that they are part of a family composed of creative individuals interested in and anxious to support each other's gift and talent. As with so many groups, the coronavirus pandemic has challenged you to engage in ways that are new and unfamiliar, and I am delighted to learn how admirably you have risen to that challenge. Since I had the pleasure of addressing you last September, 2 of your members have produced new publications, while your group as a whole have produced another beautiful anthology. That is true testament not only to the talent of your individual members, but to the generous spirit of support and encouragement that lies at the heart of Right On. It is also an encouraging reminder of the wonderfully creative and inventive spirit that exists in such abundance in communities across Ireland. As we emerge from the coronavirus pandemic, we are challenged to write a new chapter of our nation's story, rebuilding our society as a just and equal republic in which a multitude of voices can be heard. In that reimagined society, it is critical that the cultural space will be protected and valued as an important component of citizenship. Groups like Right On, which nurture and sustain our new and emerging writers, make an invaluable contribution to the building of such a society. I am delighted to have this opportunity to thank you for that contribution and for so generously sharing the creativity and vision that defines you as a group. I wish you a most enjoyable evening and every success in all your future endeavours.
So thank you very much, President Michael D. Higgins, for those wonderful words. As I said, he has always encouraged our group, and he is always a fervent advocate of artistic and creative endeavours. Now, I thought tonight that when I was going to present the new documentary and the new books, that some of the other members of Right On would appear and could be with me, but I find myself all alone. I was expecting Anne Murray to appear. Oh, there's Anne.
Glad to be here.
Well, hello, Anne. How are you? And there's Bill and Judy.
Hi, Frank.
Hi,
Welcome to Culture Night, everybody.
Thanks, Bill. And I wonder, is Nollaig O'Donnell around?
Hi, Frank. The big Galway hi from Right On.
Thanks. Thank you, Nollaig. Great to see you. I see Elizabeth Hannon hasn't turned on her audio. Oh, yes. Hello, Elizabeth.
Brilliant to be here.
Great, Elizabeth. Jutta from Germany. we might see you. Ah,
Hello from Germany. Lovely to be here.
hello, Jutta. How are you? Great to see you. Great to see you. And James Kyo. Is he anywhere to be found? James is usually under the desk someplace. Oh, there's James. Hello, James.
Portuguese Galir. It's Jock on Panona Shop. Just to put it in a bit of Irish feed.
Garamila Margot, James. And Kira Kyo.
Hello.
Okay. Anyway, you're very welcome, Kira. And Mary Rose. Oh, there you are.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Culture Night.
Great to see you. So I'm not alone after all. We have produced a documentary, which the name of which is Beat the Virus.
Right On is a wonderful initiative from Westside, enabling as it does the gathering together of talented local writers, enabling them to exchange ideas, progress their work and give support to new and emerging writers from your community and its surrounds.
They say there's beauty and there's culture on the streets of Galway town, where the crack and the fun is everywhere around. The buskers and the artists and the characters are all there. You can walk along the river or stroll up to Hare Square. It may lead you to some places, from the market to the pier, where the people tend to gather when the sunshine does appear. The Spanish Arch and Long Walk hold the history of this place, and the swans in the evening gather there in all their grace. Galway, Galway, the culture capital city and the wild Atlantic way. Galway, Galway, it's the people and the culture that'll make you want to stay. Galway, Galway, the culture capital city on the wild Atlantic way. Galway, Galway, it's the people and the culture that'll make you want to stay. It's the people and the culture that'll make you want to stay. People and the culture that'll make you want to stay.
The City of the Tribes has been an inspiration for writers and artists throughout the ages. It could just as easily have been named the City of the Scribes. In 2017, a few people interested in writing met in the Westside Resource Centre to form the Write On group. Little did we anticipate the direction we would take. I'm Frank Fahey. I'm going to meet with James and some other members to talk about the early days. Why did you join the Write On group?
Well, I went down to the West Side and I joined a small group of writers under a chap called Charlie Adley. I had an interest in writing, but his course was pretty short. My daughter, at the time, was with another group, Write On, who were in an adjacent room, and she advised me about it and said that I should come along and join them.
Write On was set up for people just like James. We formed the group to encourage writing of all kinds.
I met a neighbour who suggested I come and try it. So I went to the West Side Resource Centre and asked would they have me. I loved the group as I got to know them, mostly during tea time when we took a break and had a chat.
I had read the anthology that had come out the previous year, so I was very impressed with the content of it, the variety of it, and the fact that you could write very short stories and you had 50-word pieces, and it encouraged you to write because you didn't have to think that you were going to write this big long piece. It was all about short pieces.
Like Judith, it was the anthology that sparked my interest in the Write On group. A friend of mine invited me to the launch of the 2020 anthology, and I enjoyed it so much I thought I'd give it a try.
Describe your first encounter with Write On, the first time that you went into a physical meeting in Westside. What was it like?
Well, when I walked into the room, to be honest about it, everybody was in a good mood. Everybody was enthusiastic. We had a couple of jokes flying around the place, and then we got down to the serious business of people reading their pieces to the rest of us. It worked for everybody, and it was purely casual. I totally enjoyed it.
My first meeting with the Write On group, I was a bit nervous, but like James, once I went into the room, I got a warm welcome. My friend Elizabeth was there already, and it seemed a happy group, and I thought this could be for me.
I found that at different times you would get various ideas into your head, and rather than throw them away or forget about them, you'd write them down, and essentially my pocket would be full of little notes that I intended to carry on with and expand. Unfortunately, I never did, and I needed that little bit of guidance, which the Write On group have given me.
First person I met was Frank Fahey and Mary Rose. They were more than welcoming. Frank is full of life and enthusiasm and would make you want to join anything.
My first session with the Write On group was actually in the west side of Galway. Frank wanted to introduce me to the members, or the members that were there that night anyway, and explain the idea.
The idea that Bill was referring to was the creation of a writers' forum rather than a writing class. We wanted to create an atmosphere where people came along with their various pieces of writings to share with their peers in a relaxed, convivial atmosphere.
It was daunting reading in front of strangers, but they were wonderful. They told you it was great and gave constructive ways to maybe make it better.
Had you written stories and poems before?
I read a lot to the kids as they grew up, and at one stage then when I had a granddaughter, I decided to write a little story for her. I wrote that and I went and I got it published.
I have always written stories and poems. English was my favourite subject. I had lots of stuff on all kinds of files in the computer, never did anything with them.
But unlike Elizabeth, I had never written anything before. I often thought about it, but with rearing a family and a full-time job, I was always too busy. So when I retired, I heard about the Write On group, and I just thought I'd give it a go.
Like the others have said, I found it difficult to combine writing with a busy career. Now that I had some more time, I was very keen to indulge myself in more creative writing.
Anything that I ever wrote, I tore up and threw away. I had no confidence, and that's why I felt that I needed to be with a group.
Each week we met, brought along our notebooks, paper, typed sheets, got together, and then we would take turns and read to each other.
As Elizabeth mentioned there, we read to each other. We didn't have a requirement to submit work in advance, and the work was shared in whatever form it turned up in, be that a typed page, a jotter, a scrap of paper on a person's phone or whatever. Our ambition was to make people comfortable and build up their confidence and trust. We did this through the more obvious things of the cups of tea and the social occasion that Write On turned into. But in my opinion, the real thing that built people's trust was the feedback that they got from their peers as to actually how good their work was.
At the end of the first year, we decided to bring out Anthology 2019. It was a marvellous experience, quickly followed the following year by Anthology 2020, and then collections of work by the individuals, Building New Bridges by Frank Fahey and New Dawn, Anne McManus, in her 80th year, first time published.
By the end of 2019, Write On had turned into a virtual cottage industry. As Elizabeth showed you, we'd produced 4 books at that point. Not only had we produced the books, but we had pooled our talents and skills to write, edit, publish, produce photography, get sponsorship, launch, market and sell the books. From humble beginnings, we were actually making wonderful progress. Then it all went wrong. We returned to Westside Resource Centre for our meetings early 2020 with absolutely no idea that COVID-19 was only around the corner.
James, how did COVID-19 affect you personally?
It didn't affect me that much, to be honest about it, because I wasn't that much aware of the consequences of it. But I was taking advice, and both myself and my wife were extremely careful. We did isolate.
I wasn't as cool as James about this whole thing. In fact, as the days went on, I became more and more terrified. There was nothing on TV except the pandemic, and it did seem like we were all going to be confined to barracks until this miraculous vaccine came along. The whole thing was very scary.
When lockdown was announced, my art group and my swimming group all closed down. I thought Write On would be the same. I was very disappointed. I thought we were left there, myself and my husband, just watching television, nothing else to do.
At the time, I was a member of a number of social groups. We were notified that the choir couldn't meet any longer. Then we were notified that the book club wouldn't meet any longer. What was to happen to our fledgling Write On writers group?
I thought the Write On group would go into hibernation, to be honest about it, for quite a time. According to what they were saying on television and on the radio, it seemed that this was going to be a prolonged period of time.
Personally, COVID-19 affected me in that I'm a musician and would be out playing, and that came to a complete standstill.
Things changed utterly. We would have no more physical meetings, no more Write On. What were we going to do?
Well, I'm sliding into the ocean and I'm watching the sun come up, and the welcome, it gathers round me like a swirl in a coffee cup, and I feel like
During the COVID-19 lockdown, lethargic landlubbers took to the sea waters like lemmings jumping off cliffs. For many, it was a new and exhilarating experience. The regular daily swimmers in Salt Hill had seen it all before.
it is where I come from, the salty living sea. All the things it has, from elephants to bears, all breathing from the start, with 4 parts to each heart. And I'm floating in the loving arms of the mighty ocean.
The members of our writing group, Write On, were determined not to let the pandemic put a halt to our activities. Virtual sessions would replace the weekly get-togethers, and nothing would stop the publication of Anthology 2021.
We were determined that our Write On meetings would keep going. We took out a subscription to Zoom, and even though none of us was au fait with the platform, we decided we would all learn together.
James, describe your first attempts at Zoom.
When I went on Zoom at the beginning, I was a total amateur at it, but through the guidance of the other members, It actually worked for me.
When the group decided to meet via Zoom, I found it both frightening and exhilarating. Frightening because I hadn't the first clue about technology. I could barely use the mobile phone. But exhilarating because now I was going to meet my friends again every Thursday night.
Our first efforts were chaotic. But then, gradually, we figured it out. Even us oldies.
I was absolutely delighted when the word went out that Right On was going to carry on Zoom. This was good news.
My first Right On meeting was through a Zoom session, so I hadn't the experience of being at a physical meeting. This was actually a very enjoyable experience because I actually did get to meet all of the members and to get a very good idea of what type of writing was involved, and that this could really work because everybody got a chance and an opportunity to talk at the Zoom meeting, and it allowed them to come together without having to leave their homes, and so we maintained the safety of the group whilst we were working together.
After a nervous but enthusiastic start, members gradually came to look forward to Zoom meetings as a replacement for the West Side meetings. But we had two very unexpected outcomes. The first thing that happened was that we began to professionalise our presentations using the multimedia technology that was now available to us.
Feel my breath upon your face. Feel my smile, a warm embrace. Proud grandad from the human race, not some silly interface.
And secondly, we began to attract members from within Ireland and indeed from all over the world, something that was hitherto impossible.
In Germany, group activities came to a halt, just like everywhere else in the world. I was introduced to Right On by a young friend of mine in Dublin, who was a member of the group, and he knew I enjoyed writing, and he thought I should give it a try. And that's how I got onto it. My first encounter with Right On was extremely pleasant, this lively and creative group of people. And what pleased me most of all is that nobody was talking about COVID.
The main difference I found with my knowledge of Zoom and what I had to face with the Right On situation was that I was teaching and I had my objectives and I had my plan for the class and it was one-to-one, and we had certain technology that we had to use for the piano. This was very different in the Zoom situation for Right On. I was now facing a number of faces, so to speak. We could have up to 20. And that for me, I'm an introvert, I found that quite intimidating. And so that took getting used to.
For the Right On group, the lockdown was like a university of learning. I decided to expand my knowledge of the technology. I learned how to source photos and music to animate the text for other members' presentations.
I learned a whole lot of skills during COVID-19, particularly in relation to using Zoom, presenting our work through Zoom and presenting feedback through Zoom.
When I presented my work to the Zoom meeting, it was taken by members of the group and it was redone with some photographic backgrounds as put in by Anne Murray, a voiceover by Frank, and it just made a complete job of it.
PowerPoint was one of the new programs that I learned, and that took a little while now to get my head around, but it was really well worthwhile, really super. Got into it after a while. The audio part of it, first of all, I was introduced to, Frank helped me with that, and to insert my voice into the system. And then after that, I was on my bike. I learned to put in my pictures and I sketch and paint a bit, so I was able to upload those, and I really saw things moving here. So it was a totally different way of narrating the story and of making it interesting, really, in a whole new way.
Here is Judith describing how she developed her poem, Manhattan Christmas Magic.
Manhattan Christmas Magic came about because I've spent some time in New York, and my favourite time of year in New York is Christmas. So in the piece that I wrote, I included it was a walk through Manhattan, and what I hoped is with the pictures that I included and the words that I included, that it would give people a picture of Manhattan, even if you were never in there. You could imagine what it was. I put it together in PowerPoint. Most of the photographs were photographs that I had taken myself through different times I'd spent there, and they were a reflection of Manhattan at Christmas. And a lot of it was, obviously, there's poverty and there's happiness and there's joy and there's shopping, and all of those things I think I try to reflect in the piece.
With refined precision tapping. At St. Pat's, a Christmas prayer, a candle lit for all who care. Then listen to the carol singers while giving to the saints and sinners. Smile at Grinches, join the queues, not a time to booze or snooze. Central Park, a white-haired grandee happily singing, help our pantry. Don't be dark, don't be dreary, it will only make God weary. Don't be sad, don't be greedy, just be kind and feed the needy. All muffed up, we walk the High Line, under twinkling New York skyline. End the day in serendipity, for the city's speciality. Thick and creamy, rich hot chocolate, dark and frozen is my favourite.
Some of the new skills that I learned included Zoom, of course, I hadn't used that before. And then we were taught how to present our own texts with pictures, with music, and using PowerPoint, which I hadn't done before, so that it wasn't just writing, it was also these internet skills that we learned, which was very interesting. Many of the new skills that I learned are on display in this short extract from one of the stories I wrote that I was particularly pleased with.
A few days after our walk, Louise starts showing upsetting symptoms, and I take her to the vet. The waiting room seems full of people when I shoulder the door open. The late afternoon light falling through the large shop window from the street is dimmed by the tall building opposite, so that it's a moment before I'm able to see properly. Nearly all the chairs are occupied. Animals are lying at their owners' feet or enclosed in baskets on the low tables between them. There's an empty seat in the far corner with a table next to it, and I place the box with Louise there, turning it so that she can look out. Despite her discomfort, she examines her surroundings, but she isn't purring. As usual, nobody is speaking.
I'm really looking forward to the Write On Anthology 2022. My story, Mam's Little Clown, has a very special place in my heart.
Seconds later, Mam awoke. Hazy and slightly dazed by the sunlight, she lifted her eyes to meet mine. "Look," I said, holding my sketch up for inspection. "Who is this?" "Ah," she sighed, smiling, giving a gentle nod to the little man at the foot of her bed. "That's my little clown." Mam passed away peacefully 5 days later.
Gradually, the presentations became more interesting and sophisticated. The members began
to insert their own audio, their own narration for their texts and poems. They then learned to animate the text so that the words appeared on the screen as they were reading them. In addition to this, they became involved in selecting images and photographs to capture the mood and atmosphere of their works. And finally, they got involved in selecting the music that would act as a background ambience to the entire piece. All in all, these new presentations were professional and profoundly better than anything we had seen before. James, you have an idea for a new poem. You've been thinking about a new poem for a while. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I have a poem in mind, and I've been considering it for quite a while. It goes back to when I was a young chap and my grandfather was in the house after my grandmother had passed away. I have strong memories of that, and in particular, some of the surroundings and his behaviour, the type of man he was. My grandparents lived in Sea Road beside the Jes Church. They were a close couple. They were always together, and during her illness, I knew it had a profound effect on him. Even though I was only a child, I was wondering what he would do without her. Afterwards, I found out that it broke his heart. I ventured into the house when the adults were downstairs after she passed, and I went up into her bedroom. This is the room they both shared. I observed the window panes, the windows themselves, the rotten timber, the imperfection of the work that he should have done in the house. But then I looked at her corner, her dressing table, and the difference, the cleanliness, the layout and the set out that she had. It triggered something in my mind at that time, and I'm reflecting now on both him and her and the room that they were in. My intention will be to give a broad outline, essentially, and then to refine it later on. But I would present it to the Write On group so that they, in actual fact, could give me their opinions on various little bits of it. Like I say, it's all in my mind. It's just to progress it.
James, I think that's a great idea for a poem, and I'm sure we've all kind of sat in a room after a death and wondered that. When you said a low sigh escaped from his lips, was that referring to the realization that his wife was now dead?
It was essentially looking around the room and the fact that it was just a single room now, just for him. He was lost, really, in his own thoughts.
Yeah.
He was sobbing, in a sense, quietly. There was no outburst of tears or anything like that. It was just the dreariness and loneliness. And I suppose the fact that when he looked at the window, there was work that should have been done that he hadn't done for her. And there was a bit of guilt in it as well.
But I think we all have guilt after death, in some ways, that we didn't do more for the person, maybe.
James, I love the idea. I think it has great poignancy and really touches your heart. But looking through the poem, I'm just wondering about the line, a sad, sobbing cry. And I just wonder about the word sad. Is it a bit limp? It's more than sadness in this man's heart. That a stronger word perhaps would be better there. Just maybe give that a bit of thought.
Well, thanks for that, Anne. I agree with you, even though I disagree with you. When I write something, I love it. Now that you're asking me to change it.
I know, James.
That's raw. That gives a raw feeling to things. And maybe there's a word for you. Maybe it was just a raw sobbing sigh.
I think that's stronger. A raw, I think, would be a great word in there. I think it would be so effective.
Well, and I agree with you. It would be a vast improvement. Thanks for that.
after a death, you are usually raw.
Yeah.
I mean, you're raw with
That's
emotion.
true.
Everyone's raw with emotion after a death.
I agree with what everyone has said so far. I think it's a very strong topic, very strong concept, and you're painting a picture. It strikes me in the room, and it reminds me of something. I think in the visual arts they talk about negative space, where you can but if you draw a background and all you draw is the background, but the background say is black, and it forms a vase. This is a picture I remember seeing one day. And, someone explaining the concept of negative space to me is that you fill in the background, and it makes it obvious that there's a vase in the middle, even though you never mentioned the vase. So that idea, I think, of painting the picture of a room which clearly at one stage had a woman in it, but now no longer has a woman in it, is a great way of bringing, calling attention to the fact that there's no longer a woman there. So I think when it comes to the title of the poem, there might be something in there perhaps that you could draw upon.
We can throw it open to the group as well, James.
Missing person, or that's not a good title, but it's about what's missing rather than what's there.
Oh, well, it's something to do with emptiness, maybe.
Scent of the past.
Lost presence.
Yeah.
I think there should be woman in the title. Woman or wife or lady or something like that should be in the title.
Okay, that's good.
Because you itemize all the stuff belonging to her, and she's not there anymore.
Yeah, now you're getting there.
Yeah, like missing woman or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, missing woman. Okay, James, you have plenty of ideas there anyway from the conversation about the title. So I'm sure you will come up with something new and something novel yourself.
Well, I've seen some of the background material and work that Frank and Anne have done on previous poems and short stories by others, and it's very impressive. With regards to my own poem, I would like to come across as being sentimental both pictorially and musically. The pictorial pictures I would like to see as being antiquated. Old pictures if possible, and if Anne could just seek them out, an old dressing table, old crockery or whatever was going with it, an old powder puff if she has one. And from Frank's point of view, I would like the music to be quiet, sentimental, low, and tear-jerking. If I got all that, I'd be happy.
Absence of Woman, James Keogh. On the edge of their bed, he stared at the window, his eyes not venturing beyond the glass, settling on the cobwebs, the dirty panes, timbers with wet rot beneath, the cracked peeling paint. A low sigh escaped his lips. It might eventually break into a raw, sobbing cry. Standing up to leave, he slowly turned back, his eyes running over tossed bedclothes. Her dressing table, the wonder of a woman, neatly, carefully placed on embroidered white linen, 2 sweetheart china dishes, holding rings and bangles, lipstick holders, shades inside, Christmas red and spring cherry, brought to life on cherub lips. Perfume sprays, beguiling scent of a woman's aromatic hint, a heavily caked powder puff, the powder now dry, cracked in its circular container, a soft bristled hairbrush with ornamental surround, her hanging necklace pieces, strings of silver pearls and beads, gold heart and hand pendant, coupled with its chain, a paper butterfly of colours, the softest hue of greens with blue dappled through. a stocking draped on the side, the other dropped on the floor, a woman's private place reflected in her mirror, a reflection gone now, gone forever. He stood silently in a room, his memories now astir. He turned the doorknob, stepped out of the room onto a landing of solitude.
That is nice. That is nice, isn't it?
That is indeed, yes.
High five. Well done, Anne. Tell us this, when you started with Right On, did you have all these skills yourself?
I didn't even have a laptop.
Ah.
I had to buy one.
So how long did it take you to learn how to do all this?
Well, I got a few lessons from yourself. And
it's just
practice. It's practice is the main thing, isn't it?
Right. And
so I really enjoyed it.
Right.
Because it with lockdown, I was just sitting at home feeling sorry for myself.
Yes.
And I could go up there and get lost in the computer and practice.
It's the kind of thing that you get absorbed in, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Searching for the pictures.
I used to have to set my alarm to remind me to come down and turn on the dinner.
I'm sure your family were wondering what you were doing upstairs.
I think my husband would throw his hands into the air. Oh, she's on again.
You're at that thing again. But seriously, since we started with the Zoom meetings, we've sometimes 10 or 12 presentations every week.
We do. And when we were in the physical meetings in West Side, like you might have 2 or 3. Some nights you sort of have nothing.
Yes.
And
as well as that, I always think that people kind of threw them away, or you didn't see those pieces again.
Yes, that's true.
But now with this presentation feature, people get to
go
see
back
it,
and see
and
it.
they can show it to
they can show it to their friends and family if they're interested.
What does WOWO stand for?
Well, we developed that for What's On Right On, and that's the menu each week. It goes up on WhatsApp to tell people if they're going to appear on screen during the Zoom meeting.
Right. I just clicked on at random as Anne was talking, WOWO, which means What's On Right On, for this week, the 29th of April. And we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 presentations that week.
Yeah. Now, some of them are finished presentations, then more people just send in a draft and we put it up as a draft to be read and to get feedback on it, and then they might represent it again when they have it more finished, and then we put the pictures with it.
Okay, so we've really become a kind of a high-tech writing group.
Unknown to
ourselves, or because we needed to do so.
Yeah.
We have our own website, which we developed ourselves. I have to say thanks to Sean McGrath, one of our members, who was a bit of a genius with computers, and he showed us how to do it. But once he showed us, then we were able to continue on. And we were able to create all these different sections. I've just got to click on another one here, our publications. And these are all the books we've done. It's a day for Red.
Yes, there are 2 members there out of the blue. 2 members have their own. Enough writing for their own book.
That's right. And there's Right On Anthology 2021, 2020 and 2019. Soon to be joined by Right On Anthology 2022. Of course, we can't leave without talking about Mug of the Month.
Mug of the Month, my favourite. Everybody's favourite is Mug of the Month.
Mug of the Month has taken on a life of its own.
It's only 50 words, and you're given 2 words. They have to be included in the piece.
That Day by Anne McManus. That summer's day I was driving along the busy prom. In the sunshine I had lost my train of thought. A child dashed out from behind a car. I braked, swerved. The child died, a girl, an only child. Since then, I have lost track of time.
And sometimes, you know, when I'm doing the pictures, you have to think, is this really what the person thought? Or are you reading it, you know, putting some different meaning in it?
The garden in snow. Stark, barren grasses rise from snowy tufts. Now garden shapes, once trained and clear, are white, softly anonymous. Gusts whip a screen of whirling flakes amok to enshroud cowering shrubs. A flash of amber, leaping, leaves a fuzzy track across the pristine fleece. Tranquility.
In many ways, Right On has beaten the virus, Anne. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It was a lifesaver, really. For I used to look forward to those Thursday evenings because there was nothing else to do when we were really locked down.
And I have to say thank you very much for all the hard work that you've done throughout the year. You've done brilliant work with the photographs, with the presentations, and it has really brought on the entire group.
Right On did not allow COVID-19 to stop our progress. We published Right On Anthology 2021, launched by Michael D. Higgins, no less. Then this was quickly followed by a member's book, Anne McManus, A Day for Red. And then, believe it or not, my own book, Out of the Blue, a collection of poems, memories. And now, this year, we will publish Right On Anthology 2022, again launched by Michael D. Higgins in the autumn. Again, our hardback editions.
I came up with the idea for Beat the Virus because we had come to the end of a year where everyone had really, I suppose, experienced fear, sorrow, and an unknown world. And I wanted to see how people felt about it. And we had a really great group of writers, and I wanted to get their experience of 2 lines from each person that would give us a variety of their writing skills and their ideas, but also how they experienced COVID.
Elizabeth, let's give the mistletoe a miss.
We were extremely impressed with the amount, with the quality of the lines.
Definitely.
And it just felt this needs to be put to music. And we handed it over to Frank.
Came up with a fantastic
production.
Of course.
And so with Frank's input, with the input of the group, with everybody singing their chorus line, as well as having written their 2 lines, we came up with a fantastic piece of work to end the first year of COVID. I'm just reading James's line here as an opening line. A Christmas candle still burning bright, a welcome sign for this holy night.
I think a great opening, yeah.
The Christmas candles still burning bright, a welcome sign on this holy night. And on a frosty night, you know, cheeks redden and noses glow. And tonight, maybe we're gonna see some snow. So let's give the mistletoe a miss. Loads of air kisses will spread the bliss. And you will feel better if we're all one together. Tonight, let's ask God to make the world better. Essential workers first in line to get the vaccine by Christmas time. Don't they know this virus can be gone? Real friends delivered in so many ways. While we were stuck in these COVID days, and in mass we steered from sickness, hopes with prayer we might see Christmas. While this day we hope COVID will be dismissed. There's a ward inside the hospital, and it's a place of dread and fear. But at last a ray of hope dawns. The vaccine, it is here, and the Christmas bells that ring are to welcome 21. So tonight, at last, we'll have some fun. Oh, let bells chime at Christmas time. The light will shine with hugs online. Don't they know this virus will be gone? Beat the virus, keep us free from COVID sickness. Beat the virus, keep us free from COVID sickness. Beat the virus, let's go have some fun next Christmas. Beat the virus, keep us free from COVID sickness. Beat the virus, let's go have some fun next Christmas. Beat the virus.
Right on, we beat the virus. Yes, right on, bet the virus.
Yes, right on, beat the virus.
Okay.
Right on, beat the virus. Right on, beat the virus.
Right on, beat the virus.
Right on, beat the virus.
I think it's true to say that right on, beat the virus.
Tris Liam live. And may I thank you for how you are working for the accessing and supporting of the cultural space, particularly in and throughout the challenging times we're currently facing. Indeed, throughout the challenge of COVID-19, so many wonderful people have found many imaginative and inventive ways in which to ensure that outlets for cultural engagement remain open, available in new forms. Maruk Tranaheran, as President of Ireland, I'm deeply grateful to all of you for all of your work. The creativity that you are sharing and that so defines you has a vital role to play in making safe the cultural space for now and into the future. I wish you success, Ganairiliep, as you continue to make your unique contribution to the shaping of that shared and better future, and every success as you continue with your artistic endeavours. Gwim gakra ari, erur nirachti inish agus an táki, is berbanacht, slán.
Well, I'm sliding into the ocean and I'm watching the sun come up, and the welcome, it gathers round me like a swirl in a coffee cup, and I feel right at home. Salty waters I've always known, and the ocean is the place that calms my mind. I am in the ocean, and the ocean is in me, and it is where I come from, the salty living sea. All the things it has, from elephants to bears, all breathing from the start, with 4 parts to each heart. And I'm floating in the loving arms of the mighty ocean blue. All she wants is to stay alive, and that depends on me and you. All the garbage that we throw, plastic mountains that we grow, all the fish we take away will kill the sea one day. I am in the ocean, and the ocean is in me. And this is where I come from, the salty living sea. All the things it has,
Just be careful you don't trip.
elephants, two bears, all breathing
I don't know if I'm intruding in the backyard.
with four parts to each heart. And I'm walking up the sandy beach, and I'm listening to the ocean roar. She says, please refrain from taking me for granted anymore. We can save heart if we choose.
I've forgotten the third thing, but it sounded great in rehearsal.
Well, what are we?
The Right On Anthology 2022
And the ocean is in me, and it is where
We had something
the
to
salty
do.
living sea. All the things with hands, from elephants to bears, all breathing from the start, with four parts to each.
Go on, Anne, you can do this.
Sliding into the ocean, and I'm watching the sun.
Audio, images, animation. Okay, take two.
Right on, bit the virus.
Bit the virus.
Okay.
We put that in.
We'll move on to the next section of our programs. We have, for the first year ever, hardback editions. Every single one of our publications is now available as a hardback, as well as being available in paperback. There's the paperback. The floppy one is the paperback, for those that don't know. The hardback stays fairly solid. There's the paperback, and it's also available as a Kindle ebook. But first of all, Elizabeth's introduction to her new book, Out of the Blue, Stories, Poems and Memories by Elizabeth Hannon.
I am Elizabeth Hannon, a member of the West Side Writers Group. I am thrilled that my collection of poems and stories has been published under the title Out of the Blue. It's now available in Kindle, paperback and hardback editions. I cannot thank the members of Right On enough for their encouragement and feedback. And I want to say a special thank you to Mary Rose Tobin for her painstakingly patient editing skills used on my behalf. Frank Fahey has been tremendous. I cannot thank him enough for using his publishing skills to bring my book into the light. I enjoyed writing Out of the Blue. I hope you get the chance to enjoy reading it.
Elizabeth has selected a poem, and the poem has a special significance for her.
One moment in time arose out of a conversation I had with my husband after he had paid a visit to his aged parents. He could not believe the affectionate interactions that happened between them, of which he was totally unaware.
One Moment in Time by Elizabeth Hannon. He said he'd drop in on his parents on his way back from the store. They did not see him parking,
nor hear footsteps on the floor. Kitchen door ajar gave him sight of aged father, who with unholy glee gave village gossip in comic recite, recounted with perfect mimicry. Dignified retired schoolmistress she, though to fireside chair confined, laughed, eyes shining, breathless, as a girl besotted with first boyfriend. Dazed by the witnessed spectacle, unnoticed their son withdrew, astonished at how very little of love in old age he knew.
And again, a round of applause wouldn't go astray for that. I think it's the most beautiful poem. I would like to read another poem, if I may, Elizabeth. I'm sure you have no objection, from Elizabeth's collection. And it's one that I particularly like myself. It's on page 16 of her new book. And this one is called Whispers. What shall I tell you, child of my heart? How can I find the words? How can a lifetime of thoughts be condensed? How can feelings be voiced which my mind can't amass? Too wide, too confused, too deep. I want to advise, to warn, to teach, to say what will keep you from harm, to show how precious, how perfect and awesome you've become. How can you come to be mine? I need to cherish, to shelter, to protect. You need to be independent and free. I know you can achieve any aim, are capable of all you can dream. Life will be hard, the way never smooth. I cannot shield you from hurt, except that people have flaws, even me, who loves you with all of my heart. Beautiful poem, Elizabeth. We move on now to A Day for Red. It is full of magical stories. Anne McManus has the most wry wit of anybody that I know. She creates characters in her mind that, quite frankly, you never forget, and they become part of the furniture and part of the family. We all, as a group in Right On, we all know Granny Margot. We all know her well. We all know Bridie. Bridie is a character created by, you can see some of the members roaring, laughing already just at the thought of her words, because Bridie sits on a bus some days and she pontificates about the state of the planet, the state of the world, the state of Galway, and the state of the nation. And Bridie knows everything. And we all know these characters, but they're all, it's hard to believe, they're figments of Anne McManus's imagination, but they are so real to all of us. She has a wonderful, wonderful way. I have read some of Anne's stories at different occasions outside of Right On, and invariably they ask who wrote it, where can we get the book, and so on and so forth. They're marvelous, especially my favorite is Granny Margot. Actually, I'm laughing myself because I know the end of it. The first time we heard Granny Margot was at the Searscale International Literary Festival. And Anne McManus stood up. She was asked to say a small piece, and she took out of her pocket this little scrap of paper. And on it was the story of Granny Margot. When she started to read it, and the audience was in fits. We were in fits laughing, and she actually made the day with her reading. My favorite poem from Anne McManus is September in Rathanora. The red trasher came in early September to our lane. Sun-tanned men wielded pitchforks, magic wands, tossing the yellow sheaves high in the easy rhythm of the ritual. The stripping of grain from straw bettered any magician's tricks. The steady flow of gold, the pulsing of the machine, the smell of oats and wheat. The tea came in 5 naggin bottles, sweetened and milked, wrapped in the Sligo champion, rasher sandwiches in batch bread. The men sat against the bulging sacks and murmured among themselves. Some smoked. Then Dan Calway's heavy boot crushed a field mouse into the stubble, staining it red, killing my innocence. Wonderful. I'm going to clap that myself because this is another highlight of the night, but it's a collective highlight. It is the publication of our Write On Anthology 2022. Before we go on to examine in more detail some of the presentations, I would just like to read a short piece of what Anne wrote in the introduction to our new anthology. Much has been written on what it is that compels people to write. It could be the need to be heard, the ambition to become a published writer, the bubbling up of words in the brain, the need to record personal memories, or a fascination with how powerful words can be. Whatever the motivation, all writers will experience times when ideas flow and times when it seems they will never write another word. In our group, the Write On group, we endeavor to encourage each other, to offer suggestions rather than to criticize. And it always helps to toss ideas around, to brainstorm, and to review our offerings. It is the hope of the Write On group that Anthology 2022 will give you, the reader, hours of pleasurable reading. And even before this book went to press, we are looking forward to compiling Anthology 2023.
My poem was inspired by a fisherman that I met in Ballyconneely during lockdown. He told me how his daily life hadn't changed that much, where the cities around Ireland were in chaos and people were trying to work from home. He was going out on the sea day after day, and his biggest fear really was a storm or his sea monsters that he spoke about every time we met him. So I wrote a little poem to honour him.
Oilskins by Ciara Keogh. Surf crashes down against rocks laid bare, lying in tufts like banshee's hair, brown-green strands patched with purple heather, seaweed and rope entwined together. Mick in his oilskins, 150 years old, stories passed from generations often told, tales of beasts and pirates they fought, skills and old legends are all they were taught. The day came upon him when 'twas time to set sail, but he didn't know there was a storm on his tail. It tossed and turned him around in the bay, no lobsters or crabs were caught that dark day. For a fisherman's secret is one that's quite grim. A fisherman will never learn how to swim.
Beautiful poem.
Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Geraldine Renton. You're about to hear my poem She, which was inspired by the fantastic women that I have met throughout my life thus far. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Who is she? She is the one we seek comfort from. She is the one doing it alone. She is the one who has 7 mouths to feed with a teammate to help carry the load.
She is the one who has the solutions, and if not, she will seek them out. She is the one who laughs until she cries. She is the one who owes nobody any explanation. She is fierce protective of those she holds within her heart. Who is she? She is the one who balances the checks, brings in the income and ensures all the bills are paid with enough left over to treat those she loves. She is the one who went through hell just to be able to hold you in her arms. She is the one who had nothing and now you're standing in her empire, the one she built from scratch. She is often the last one to take a break from her role. Who is she? She is the planner, the scheduler, the one who remembers the dates and times. She is the advisor to so many. She is full of views, opinions, love and complications. She's hard to understand but worth the time spent trying to. She is the teacher, the solicitor, the homemaker, the doctor, the race car rally driver, the architect, the researcher, the scientist, and oh, so much more. She is the one who fought for you to be here. Who is she? She is the one who decided to bring life into this world. She is strong, stronger than society likes to admit. She is the one who gives time she barely has. She is the one who lends an ear eager to listen. She is the one who opens her arms for a warm embrace with an open heart. Who is she? She is the crafter, the dressmaker, the cake baker, the driver, the DIYer, and oh so much more. She is everywhere. She is powerful. She is mother. She is granny. She is sister. She is auntie. She is cousin. She is niece. She is friend. She is godmother. She is wife. She is partner. She is a little mix of us, women, who come in all wonderfully different shapes, sizes, and colours.
Oh, there we are, powerful stuff. So you're getting a flavour now of some of the vast variety, if you like, that's in Anthology 2022.
Warm a heart, Thomas McMahon. Light a candle for a friend. Warm their heart, send a smile. Say a prayer, think of them, wish them well from a mile. Write a letter telling news, little cost for joy it brings. Lift the phone, say hello, joining minds, harmony sings. Sing a song, raise the spirit, tell a joke, make them laugh. Share a dish, fill their hunger, steal a kiss from your other half.
This poem is an attempt to highlight the injustice and lack of respect and dignity suffered by women and their children in the care of our religious and state supporter, mother and baby homes in the not too distant past. The jackdaw on the high chair is symbolic of the highest society that prevailed at the time, which were complicit or chose to ignore what went on behind the high walls of these institutional homes. The poem is now read by Mary Rose Tobin, and I thank her for her poignant reading of same.
Choom Choom by James Keogh. A jackdaw perched at her desk, white forehead and bib collar, her draped black veil and gown, silver crucifix upon her chest, black bead rosary and cross hanging loosely from her side. This soured, resentful being, sitting in her discontented mood, scanning girls in the workroom. Some sat and faced her glare, others cowered and ducked in fear. Wretched, unwanted children, pale, drawn, stomachs rumbling. Children in her Christian care. Purgatory the realm she ruled. They paid for their mother's sin. Winnie sat, her tiny frame shook and shivered in pain. Peritonitis, a poison killer. Out, out, into the yard, was their work break call. No whistle, no tinkling bell. Get out to hell, you all! Cracked, brown, tea-stained, chipped cups, lined along chunks of brown bread, not recently made, stiff, stale and rigid, softened when dipped, held submerged, then dripping white drops when raised to eat. Drip, drip, drip. Winnie's mother sat up in bed. Bullies hunt the weak. Her little baby being breastfed. Jackdaw begrudgingly. "Are you a cow?" she callously said. "Use the toilet, not the bed." This woman, now in Battersea, her daughter kept behind, filled wandering thoughts as she polished altar brass. Her child lay on the ground, the piece of bread she held being nibbled by a crow, in tune, in tune.
Powerful stuff. So as you can see, it's not all humorous and it's not all laughter and fun all the time. There are serious issues that we discuss and write about as well. But coming back to more romantic thoughts, in the Write On Anthology 2022, there is a beautiful short story, and it's written by our own Nollaig O'Donnell.
Hello, my name is Nollaig O'Donnell, and St. Valentine's Day card is a piece I wrote about my first experience of buying a Valentine's card. Hope you enjoy it. St. Valentine's Day card by Nollaig O'Donnell. "Will you wait here for me?" I asked. "I will," said Dad, closing his big black umbrella as he settled himself in the shop doorway. "I'll be right here." "Okay," I said. "I know exactly the one I want. I'll be back in a sec. I won't be a minute." I pushed Doyle's heavy door in before me. I made my way over to the card carousel. First, I looked at the cards at eye level, then at the row below, before straining to see those above, and finally those way above me. No luck. I turned the stand clockwise, and there, right above me, was the big brown bear smiling down at me. Phew, great, it's still here, I thought. "Can I give you a hand there?" came the voice from behind. "Oh, I think I'm okay," I stuttered, stretching above my reach to topple my special purchase from its rack. "That's a Valentine's Day card," admonished the voice. "I know that," I said. "It's for Ma'am." By now, the voice had materialized into the ever-so-perfect Anne from the haberdashery department. I had the card in my grasp and was making my way over to the big timber counter to pay for it. I hoped she wouldn't follow me.
She followed me. Worse still, she took the card from me. You know, she continued, like I said, it's a Valentine's card. You wouldn't really send a Valentine card. What I mean is, well, your dad might send one to your mam, or your mam might send one to your dad. But little girls of 8 or 9 wouldn't really send Valentine cards to their dads or mams, or to anyone, really. But I am sending it to my mam, I said, and I know that that's okay. I paid for the card. Anne put it in a little brown paper bag. I thanked her before leaving the shop. I got it, I said to Dad, as he opened his umbrella. Great, he said, winking at me. Now let's go straight to the post office. En route to the post office, I regaled him with the story of Anne's extraordinary counsel. Imagine, I said, she thinks that a little girl shouldn't send a Valentine's Day card to her mam. Isn't she strange? Look, I said, taking the card out of its envelope and showing Dad the big brown bear smiling out at us under a speech bubble saying, now, who's been sleeping in my bed? I mean, why shouldn't a little girl send a card like that to her mam? I said. Why indeed, agreed Dad.
So the name of this poem is A Workaround, and it's by Mary Rose Tobin.
In her final years, my mother became more and more confused and disorientated. We often had to go to extreme lengths to help her realize where she was. I wrote this poem, The Workaround, to describe one such episode. I hope you enjoy it. A Workaround, Mary Rose Tobin. Mary is at home, crying. What's wrong? I want to go home. You're at home. We'll have tea. Doesn't work. Let's go to Silver Strand. We walk, share a 99. Can we go home now? We're back. She's smiling happily. Thanks for bringing me to my own home at last.
Once again, there's a lot to it and a lot said in less than 50 words. The next one up is a poem that was written during the beginning of COVID-19, when the lockdown came in first.
Cartoon Grandad by Frank Fahey. In your mother's womb, pea, raspberry, plum, swimming in murky gloom, quietly bonding with your mum. An image from an ultrasound, star of silent movie, white shape on black background, already a beguiling beauty. Emerging into the light of life, your mother holds you in her arms. You squeal a welcome of delight, voicing adorable newborn charms. I wave at you through COVID glass, your loving granddad behind a screen, like SpongeBob, Gumball, or some jackass, a cartoon character, inanimate being. Will your fingers ever clasp my ancient wizened hands before I breathe my last? Oh, unbuilt castles in the sand. Together means to be apart, games not played, unswung swings. FaceTime meetings break my heart. I watch helplessly in the wings. Feel my breath upon your face. Feel my smile, a warm embrace. Proud grandad from the human race, not some silly interface.
That's little Ben. He's grown a bit since. And now we're going to watch this wonderful poem by Elizabeth called November Silver Strand.
In the midst of all the COVID-19 gloominess, I walked the beach on the prom at Silver Strand and was blown away on a bright blustery day by the vibrant beauty that surrounded me. I hope you like the poem.
November Silver Strand by Elizabeth Hannon. Wind is up. Windsurfers kissing the waves, riding their boards on the white sea horses, racing splashes of colour parallel to the shore, trusting to the wayward wind. Up, up and away. Paragliders, like fluttering water butterflies, launched their canopies from the crumbling cliff. Wind whipping, whirling, lifting, they scud across the blue-grey sea and sky. I hear my mother say, "That will blow the cobwebs off ye." Storms been, railings festooned with swags of seaweed, walkway littered with sea-strewn debris, sun still obscured by clouds, streams silver shafts of light over shimmering waves, and paints a mirror path up the sandy beach. Children, cooped up for days, delight in freedom, clad in wellies, hats and anoraks, boisterous shouts unreprimanded, buckets, spades utilised with unending energy as sand gets tossed in the air. Dogs, all makes, jump for frisbees, follow balls into the splashing surf, spraying their owners with off-lead joy. On the promenade, a bunch of ladies in latest dry robes balloon in the wind, preparing for the dip. Some wade waist-high into the tinsel-edged waves, but quickly, shivering, scurry back to re-robe in their cars. Others make a swim of it, heads bob in the water as a visiting seal tries to join in their frolics. Though some men brave the weather in swim trunks, many are there just to hold the ladies' towels, making wry remarks on the madness of wives. Reluctantly, I continue my promenade speed walk. Maybe tomorrow I'll take the plunge.
Okay, now, as you can see from all of those different presentations, there is no limit to the creativity of the group. But here you go. Enjoy the pictures, listen to the words. Do not try to understand them because there's no understanding to them, but just absorb the experience. Black dots on brown linoleum pepper the white throne's floor. The dots move around before my eyes, and they're not random anymore. I'm reading the words of the recipe for swan fondue with cheese. What in the world is wrong with me? What in the world is wrong with me? Blue dots with specks of greybeard dust splashed on a plastic chair. They move with the grace and a leisurely pace to form faces everywhere. The chair is a movie of an epic life, of art and love and war. What in the world am I here for? What in the world am I here for? And it's 3 a.m. and I'm lying awake with line of sight to hell. A dead man is hanging from my curtain rail, so I reach to press the bell. But the bell has no button, just a message that says, have a lovely day. How did I get here anyway? How did I get here anyway? The red lights are flashing and I can tell that the machines are now awake, plotting and scheming amongst themselves. Which one of us will they take? They move closer to me, malice in their eyes, and I prepare to die. Somehow I made it, I don't know why. Somehow I made it, I don't know why. I'm wide awake in this pillbox place with antiseptic in my veins. White coats arrive and tell me I'm alive, but never mention if I'm sane. So I'm waiting for the day when the visions go away and boredom takes a hold. Boredom is the cure, or so I'm told. Boredom is the cure, or so I'm told. Black dots on brown linoleum pepper the white throne's floor. The dots move around before my eyes, they're not random anymore. I'm reading the words of the recipe for swan fondue with cheese. What in the world is wrong with me? What in the world is wrong with me? Black dots on brown linoleum pepper the white throne's floor. The dots move around before my eyes, and they're not random anymore. I'm reading the words of the recipe for swan fondue with cheese. What in the world is wrong with me? What in the world is
wrong with me? What in the world is wrong with me?
Listed, we had extracts from the various books, but the books in question are Out of the Blue, available in hardback for the first time ever. All our books are available in hardback, in paperback, and as an ebook, believe it or not. So Out of the Blue by Elizabeth Hannon. A round of applause, please. Yay! And then we have A Day for Red by Anne McManus. Again, available in hardback, paperback, and the other thing, Kindle ebook. That's it. And again, a round of applause for Anne McManus. Hooray! And finally, the group collection, and it's the Right On Anthology 2022, written by all the members that you see in front of you, and more. And as we said throughout, I'm here somewhere, as we said throughout the documentary and elsewhere, we are already working on Right On Anthology 2023. I would like to pay a special tribute to Galway County Council and to Claire Connolly in particular. Claire Connolly stepped into the breach when the breach needed to be stepped into, and she stepped up to the plate and she helped us enormously. We had a great friend in Galway City Council called James Harold, and James is a good friend of the group and has been from the very beginning. James retired this year, and he is a huge loss to the literary endeavours in Galway and to the art world in Galway, generally speaking. As far as I'm aware, he hasn't been replaced yet, but we do hope that whoever replaces James Harold in Galway City Council will take note of the books that we produce, take note of the documentaries that we produce, but more than that, take note of the joy, the happiness, and the community spirit that is engendered by the Right On group. On that note, I shall leave you, and thank you very much for staying the course. Thank you very much for watching the production, and hopefully we'll do it all again in 20 years. Hopefully we'll do it all again next year. We've been doing this sort of thing for Culture Night since we started in 2018. So good night, safe home to everybody, Kula Sov to our friends in Germany, and thanks everybody for taking part and for everything going so well. To my technical genius, Kira, I'd like to thank you very much. She put in so many hours over the last few days trying to make getting everything right so that we could all see the events tonight. And Mary Rose, of course, has been working away in the background with answering emails and answering the comments from the various attendees. And of course, Anne Murray, you got multiple praise in the documentary, but every bit of it was deserved. James, you are one of the most prolific writers that we have. May your hand always be near a pen and a piece of paper, because everything you write is very valuable. Nolag, thank you for all your contributions. You're always on hand to help out. You redo things even though you don't have to redo them when I ask you to do them. I'm very sorry for putting you through the ordeal of redoing certain things. But listen, it was all in a good cause. And thank you, Nolag, for your drawings and for your poems and for everything else. Thanks. And Jutta, what can I say about Jutta? One of our newest members in the group. She has embraced the whole ethos of the group, and she writes wonderful material, both short stories and poems, and I believe she's writing a novel. And I, for one, can't wait for our normal start so that we can start hearing extracts from your work. I think you're a great prospect. I say it publicly, and I say it in front of everybody here. I really look forward to your work every week. So on that note, I shall leave you and love you, and good night, and thanks everybody for attending. Bye-bye.
Hold on. Before you go,
James, yes.
I had the batteries going down on this thing all the time. I had it turned into the wall while I was charging it.
Yes.
And it sounded fantastic the second time around.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir. You're a gentleman and you did well. And Mary Rose, thank you for that poem.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thanks,
everyone.
Thanks,
and
good night.
I haven't had so much fun in years.
Thanks, everyone. Well done.
Everybody gives a wave at the same time.